What's going on, everybody? I hope everybody can hear me. Uh, I got it's some music playing in the background. I don't know if y'all can hear it. Let me know if you hear that music in the background. If not, we should be good as we are waiting on the FAMU Board of Trustees to come in. Um, Again, make sure that you like the stream. Make sure that you comment, share, subscribe to the program, to the channel. To get everything HBCU Overdrive. Um, this has been a interesting week so far, and let me check to see on my end. Let's see, and it should be coming up um, in about 3 minutes. In about 3 minutes, so y'all sit back and relax. Hope y'all had a good afternoon today. Um, we're just gonna wait on for what's going on. And reason why they call this emergency meeting to get all the facts straight. So I will connect to the Zoom uh, as soon as everybody, I guess the board of trustees coming on. And on my end, I can see them coming up. Um, and once 4:15 start comes, they should be able to go ahead and get started ASAP. I just got some news. Hey, Theron, what's going on, man? Can you hear anything on my end? Jay, can you hear anything on my end? Because I think I muted them. Okay, so what did you hear the music play on that end already? That's all I need to know. Um, they are getting ready to start. So what I'm going to do is drop myself off the screen, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, good. They are getting ready to come along stage. All right. So they ain't got no music up. That's good. That's all I need to know. Um, oh, shout out to the women's softball team taking a good victory over Alabama State last night, down to the wire. That was a good victory last night for our softball team. So, All right, we're about to start.
To each other, boo. You see, all yours.
How you doing, Dr. Robinson?
I've had better lifetimes for sure.
Everyone, I was on time. Technical difficulties.
Did they have you non-speaker?
Make sure I can. Okay. Nick?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
Let me know.
Just
I'm sorry.
1 minute. We expect influx, so normally there's not a lot of crowd in promoting to panelists, so we are back here playing the wizard. So if you give us just 2 minutes, please, Madam Chair.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right. While they get the technical difficulties together, I'm just here along for the ride. Got my red cup.
I think we got everyone, Madam Chair. Any board members who are trying to join the call, please send me a text to let me know that you need to be promoted to analyst. I'm panelist, excuse me.
I see Scott Uzel out there.
Okay. Thank you.
We have quite the crowd.
Yes.
I see CNN, Roland Martin.
This is amusing.
Oh, you didn't even tell me I was on the screen.
You on the Summer Jam screen, baby?
You did not.
Look at you. You got that natural look, that natural glow.
I'm gonna come up here for 10 minutes right before the meeting starts and they start talking. It'll be interesting to see what they have to say at this emergency meeting. Now that it's gained national media attention, it has to be dealt with. They need to put the fire out. They're going to have to walk back that statement.
Yeah. We shall see what they say.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. See, I don't even have my stuff set up. Like my pen is not set up. Hop up on here. Hold up. I'm interested to see if there's going to be some resignations because the quicker
They
that
call
they
it to
have
order now.
Okay, they're starting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well I can get off then, right?
So I'm
Director,
I'm putting on spotlight. You good?
Director
All
Erica
right.
Hill. Director
I'll be in the
John
chat.
Crossman. Director,
Present.
Director Sean Bryant Admin. Director Angela Adams. Director Elaine Armstrong. Director Terry Arnold. Director Rebecca Brown.
Present.
Director Gregory Clark.
Present.
Director Josetta Coleman.
Present.
Director Carmen Cummings Martin.
Present.
Director Marcelia Freeman.
Present.
Okay, thank you. Director Jamal Gibson. Director Clifton Goins. Director John Green.
Present.
Director Billy Green.
Present.
Director Monica Williams Harris. Director Cecil Hobbs. Director Lawrence Humphreys.
Present.
Director Curtis Johnson Jr.
Present.
Director Chakisha Kidd.
Present.
Director Lenitra King.
Present.
Director Kyla Mays. Director Ebenezer Oriaku. Director TJ Rose. Director G. Scott Uzel. Director Tawana Monroe Ward. Present for Director Uzel, thank you. Director Ward. Director Terrell Whitley. Madam Chair, you have.
Thank you, Nick.
Sir.
I have two housekeeping rules. If you are making a motion and a second, you're requested to state your name for the record. Please when not speaking to avoid background noises. At this time, board members are advised to disclose if a conflict of interest exists relative on the agenda. Conflict? Okay. Hearing none, we will proceed to the next item on the agenda. The first discussion item on the agenda is date. I'm now going to ask Duke Williams and Matthew Wright of Discipline to provide their update. They did communicate and send out a notice, which actually took care of some of the questions that I have, but we're still going to have them to provide us with an update, and then we can open the floor to questions.
Madam Chair, a point of notice, the Director Cecil Hobbs is in the waiting room as a panelist. He's saying he can't get in.
Okay, Nick, if we could facilitate that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, and Duke Williams with Discipline. I believe Matthew might be in the same situation, so if we could wait until we join as well as the panelists, be great.
All righty, sounds good.
Yeah, I think I saw his name.
He's just not entering right now.
Okay. I've been promoted, so I believe you can.
We can, thank you.
Very good. I don't think I can get the video going. I apologize for that. I don't know why that's not. But I'll just go forward with the voice. Good. Well, it's a pleasure to be with you this evening. I wanted to just comment in terms of, we found out about this information this evening, as did many of you, and subsequent to that time, the foundation office has reached out to us and shared some information as it relates to the gift. And we have provided a statement in terms of affirming our receipt of that information and the reviewing of that information as it relates to the gift from Gregory Garami for the CEO of Batterson Farms. If we put together a statement that says that since the donated assets are private illiquid investments, our review does not verify or guarantee the accuracy or the reliability of the valuation pricing as noted in the statements that we've reviewed, but we can confirm that we did see statement noted the securities held in the donor's name, and then a subsequent statement with an organization by the name of Carter, CRTA, noting that the securities are being held in the name of the foundation. Once again, we're not privy or in a position to affirm or refute or provide any confirmation or any other information as it relates to the valuation, but we can affirm that we did view this information and we are bound by the confidentiality of our investment management agreement. So the foundation office thought it appropriate for us, independent party, to do this statement.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to ask a few questions and we'll open the floor up. Can you all share with us the typical protocol or procedure regarding gifts of private stock and gifts of this magnitude in terms of working with your clients and how that's facilitated?
Sure. So I think both are extraordinary, not as it relates to our clients, but just in the commonplace in the not-for-profit world. It's extraordinary to get a gift of this magnitude from one donor. I think that's pretty factual in nature. This would be, if the valuations are consistent with what's being stated, a record in terms of the single biggest gift as it relates to what an HBCU has received. So that would be exceptional in that regard. Secondly, it is very, very rare, but not unheard of, to receive private and liquid gifts. There are entrepreneurs, whether they be tech related or other types of companies, or even in the energy space, whereby not our existing clients, but we have been involved with organizations that have received those gifts, and subsequently those stocks have gone public and they become substantial liquid gifts for the institutions that they've been donated to. But once again, we haven't had that direct experience with our existing clients, but we have had that through some prior organization affiliations that we've either worked for or volunteered.
Questions in that area between that and the letter have been answered. Board members, do you all have any questions?
Sarah LeBeau, this is Director Kidd. I think a general that relates to what you were talking about in discussion with illiquid stocks that are privately held is when you all took a look at the documentation, it wasn't clear to me who the issuer of those stocks were, number one, and in general, what is the typical liquidation plan for something like this? It just seems, from my experiences with my background, I just don't understand how we would liquidate so that we could convert this asset into something that's in line with our investment policy. So we'd love to hear about both of those.
Sure, because it is a privately held security, there is no issuer that has been designated other than the company in and of itself on the documentation that we've noted. So typically when you have a security that goes through a private to public process, there's usually a sponsor, there's a transfer agent, and then there's kind of a contingent of different brokers that actually help with the actual going public of the securities. At this point in time, we do not have any record of any type of affiliation other than the issuing company and the company's name, Batterson Farms. That was noted on the donor's statement of record, and that is also noted on the FAMU statement of record with Carter, CARTA. Once again, as it relates to monetizing or to the benefit of the institution, what typically happens is it's held at a de minimis value or cost value or, again, a de minimis value. I think that's subject to either going down the path of going through a valuation process with the donor or with an external third party, so it's held on your books. And then the true value doesn't come forth until the stock actually goes IPO and you're free and clear to actually liquidate it and monetize it or translate it into cash, then in turn allocated in accordance with your investment policy statement. That's the typical process.
Understood. Thank you for that. And just a quick follow-up, because that is aligned with my understanding as well, is that the only way is that if there is an exit of purchase of a strategic or an IPO is the only time you would actually receive value from a privately held security. And I have not seen an S1 for Batterson Farms. So I was actually, you answered my question. My original question was intended to ask, what was the issuing company? Was it the trust or was it Batterson Farms? But you did that. So Batterson Farms, in my understanding, is that there is no S1 filed for any existing plans around an IPO. Is that in line with your understanding?
That's consistent with my understanding at this point in time.
Thank you.
Director Hobbs, you're next, and then Director Arnold, you can follow up.
Yes, thank you. Following on with Director Kidd's question, when you reviewed the materials provided, did you observe any third-party valuation, such as the 409A valuation, which is typically done with privately held securities?
We did not. The directive that we were given was to confirm receiving and viewing the statement. Any process, nor were we asked, nor is it our role and responsibility, quite frankly, to do that. We were just asked to confirm receipt and view of the statement.
Thank you.
Director Arnold, you can go next, please.
Thank you, Director Arnold here. A few questions. The first question is, who is the audit firm to you, Matthew, from you verifying the information that was in your possession? I didn't hear that, or if you did state it, I'd like to know that. The audit
firm. Contextually, there is no audit firm involved as it relates to. I think there's a few things in that question. So, our role as the investment manager for the foundation assets is to manage the assets in accordance to what is custody that third-party administrators. Then, in turn, when there is an annual statements are done for the foundation, that goes through their third-party auditor. We would help facilitate that process. In this situation, we have not been engaged with the donor. We have not been engaged with the company. We have no involvement in terms of assigning an auditor, nor have we requested who they have provided. Our sole duty and request was to, because I think there's some sensitivity as it relates to confidentiality. There's an NDA in place with the donor, and through our investment management agreement, we have a confidentiality clause. So we were asked to view the statements and then affirm that we viewed the statements. So an auditor would not be associated with our involvement or our role as it relates to this.
Yeah, I do find concern and pause altogether with that response. My next question is compounded. So parts. The first is, what type of stock did you review? For restricted stock units, performance stock units, stock options? That's the first part of the compounded question. Was a vesting schedule reviewed? Is the second part of the schedule? And what's the strike price if 1 and 2 were reviewed? And are there any contingencies associated with the donor if all 3 have been met?
Yes, Director Arnold. We were apprised of this situation on Sunday evening as it became public in the press, just as all of you were. And we were asked by the foundation office specifically to view the statements just to affirm whether or not we could, as a third party, state that we saw statements noting the value by the donor and noting the value in the name of the foundation. We were not involved in any other matters as it relates to this yet, either pre or post.
So what documents are you certifying or affirming to? I'm not hearing that response.
I'm affirming that I'm not certifying to a statement from the donor from their financial services company, which notes the stock and a value on it. And that third-party institution actually has a disclaimer on their statement, which is similar to our disclaimer, because this is a privately held security. And then we're also affirming to the fact from the third-party entity CARTA, the listing of this stock in the name of the foundation. Those are the sole duties that we've been called upon to perform. And quite frankly, those duties are outside the context of our investment management agreement. But obviously, as a strategic partner with the FAMU Foundation, we can affirm what we've seen. And again, I think there's a heightened degree of sensitivity as it relates to the non-disclosure agreement. And as a party that is under confidentiality, I think there was comfort in reaching out to us in that manner. I don't know, but to the extent, the interest of all privately held securities are for them to ultimately go public and go through an IPO process. And if that were the case, and as it relates to the timing, I think there is a preference by the donor and in the best interest of the institution to limit the scope of, who has information and the level of that information, and whether or not there would create any form of conflict or violation of privilege information.
Thank you for that. I'm not certain if my questions are being answered. I do hear want to acknowledge that respectfully. My last question before I pause and turn it back over to you, Madam Chair, is did you review any said schedule? You mentioned that your process typically is company is going public. So in your review, did it consist of any schedules, 8K, 10K? I'm just putting my CHR hat on.
No, it did not. We did not receive any of that information.
And
okay, that's right.
Duke Williams discipline as a patient, when it comes to a situation where stock is donated, in this particular case here, we're not a valuation firm. So I want to be clear to say that we do not evaluate stocks. We do not price stocks. If you think about your home, right, it's in a liquid asset. You have to have an appraiser firm come in and value your home. You might do that once a year. You might do that when you're refinancing. It happens at specific intervals. That information is then taken to the respective bank, and that bank takes that information, and then they say, okay, this is your value. Then they may discount that, or may improve, whatever. In this particular case, that process was already apparently looks like it was done. So by the time reflective on the particular documents that we saw, those valuations were conducted. So our involvement was looking at those particular documents that were provided by CARTA and by the brokerage firm that indicated not those details as you alluded to, Director Arnold, but specifically, the document in the name of FAMU, the amount of securities and whatnot, and then on the other document, the same thing in the name of the particular donor. So hopefully that provides some clarification, but want to be clear that we're not a valuation firm. That was kind of the scope, of the whole process for us.
So thank you for that, Duke. Last question, Madam Chair. So given our role as the FAMU Foundation, which is to assist the university in achieving its mission by raising, managing, investing, and administering donations, I'm still unclear on the role that you actually play with you. You're not necessarily, to your words, appraising them. I'm at a loss, even befuddled, at the role Disciplina actually plays in this process. Will you help me better understand that when yourself, Duke and Matthew?
Sure. The Disciplina's sole role is to manage the liquid assets of the foundation investment portfolio so that they provide returns over and above the spending rate and an inflation rate. So it provides perpetual support for the institution. So those are liquid securities that are custody with third-party administrators and custodians that are verified through the various different exchanges in terms of their prices, or mutual fund companies, or private market managers who have valuation firms and auditors and the like. We are not in the process of vetting or assessing valuations as it relates to gifts. We are post that process. That is we are an investment advisor.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, Director Arnold. Director Humphreys, that's going to be Director Gear, if we can make it really short, because we're going to transition over and make sure we have enough time to complete our meeting. Director Humphreys?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So this is just a pretty simple three-part question. And I guess for Disciplina, have you had a chance to review the gift agreement?
We have received a copy of the gift agreement, yes. Just
because it appears that
yeah.
it appears that it's been released to the to ABC, and I guess Dr. Friday, you can comment on that at some point. But there is a schedule there in terms of distribution of funds, or I guess a forecast. I guess secondly for me is who is the financial institution that is engaged by Batterson Farms to essentially be it's illiquid, and the market will be the market. It could be much higher, it could be zero, right? There's a range there, but at the end of the day, who is the financial institution that is involved with the transfer and advising Batterson Farms? Do we know that?
I would have to defer to Dr. Friday Stroud of the Foundation. I'll be that age anyway.
Okay, well, I guess thirdly, before I turn it over to you, because these questions probably should be directed at you, Dr. Friday Stroud. Lastly, I saw that we're using Carta, right? And I looked up Carta. And so I guess, does using Carta for stock valuation and management add any credibility and reliability to the perceived value of Batterson Farms company shares for investors and regulatory bodies? Because when I looked it up, they very much appear to be, they have to be compliant with SEC and other governing bodies in terms of, information that is stored there, whether it's stock certificates or any other type of security. So I guess the question would be, what is the credibility for, using Carta as a transfer agent?
Yeah, I could speak to that, Duke Williams and Disciplina. Carta is a well-known entity that does provide really a store of record in terms of, for privately held companies or even publicly held companies in terms of ownerships of, shares or stocks or positions. So that's a pretty well-known organization to go through. So that is not uncommon. What Carta would tell you would be the same thing the SEC would tell you if a company goes public and they register with the SEC, which is they can't verify the audits or even the value of the firm, right? Carta would be in that same boat where they're not doing the auditing process themselves. They're just making sure that you've done everything you could, or that you're supposed to do in order to post that particular information on their portal or website. Similar to the SEC, they want to make sure that you're going through the right steps to register, you're paying your fees in order to go public. They're not gonna verify that. It really kind of goes back to the .com bubble, right? There's a lot of companies. I'm not saying that this is the case, but if there's a lot of companies that went public and they may or may not have had a revenue streams, all right? So the SEC came out with a statement then and said, look, we can't, that's not our job. And Carta would say the same thing. They're not in the business of verifying those going through that due diligence process to value positions and stocks.
But that's essentially a function of the market, right? The market goes up, the market goes down. Projections turn out to not be what they're supposed to be. I guess really the question, it centers around if Carta accepted the transfer and in that acceptance of transfer agreed with the $237 million valuation, even if they haven't done due diligence, does that lend any credibility to it being within the fairway of possible outcomes if in fact they go public at some point, or there's an opportunity to liquidate the stock?
Chair LeBou, may I interject here, because I actually was an investment banker. I'm an investor, and I'm also a founder, and I've used Carta for multiple transactions, and I use it now for my company. Carta is simply an administrative tool that is an equity management platform. They do not do valuations. They have a process where they do 409A evaluations for companies that use the platform. However, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? And I'm not saying that this is what's going on in this case. I'm just saying in general, you input information and they will provide a 409A evaluation. I'm not even sure if that's what's happened here because we haven't heard that that's been done on this particular equity holding, but they are simply an administrative platform to make sure that you're going through the proper steps for compliance. What we're getting at in these last series of questions is all about third-party valuation analysis. That's what you hire a banker for. That is not Disciplina's role, and we need to ask those questions of the university advancement team.
Agreed. I guess, you know, the reason I'm talking about Carter, even though they're just purely administrative, the fact that they would accept the transfer, right? You know, I want to know if that adds any credibility or not. That they would
it doesn't add.
Or Director Kidd, or if I just set up or a company and then, you know, would they accept it on me just sending something without any documentation, without any bank evaluating or valuing what the potential value? Because I get this is a range, right?
Yep.
You know, I mean, this could be, you know, $500 million, or it could be zero, right? So it's all speculation at some point. Hopefully, it's educated speculation on what the value of the actual end product would be once it hits the market, right? And so I'm just trying to, I'm trying my best to understand, you know, without, and I guess we need to move over to the university, you know, why we would make a statement like this without having guardrails everywhere, right? And so, you know, so Carter could add some credibility to that, right? For those that are out there looking and watching. Secondly, who is the bank? What is the bank? What's the name of the bank that is actually and advising Batterson Farms? Because again, I'm looking at it right now. We have now issued the gift agreement as of right for this meeting, on the internet right now. And so anyway, I guess we need to redirect to Dr. Friday Stroud.
Okay. Director Greer.
Thanks, Madam Chairman. I'm very familiar with private companies and the difficulty of valuing those private company shares, et cetera. And so my question is, what I'm assuming is that you guys are disciplining, you're probably not going to incorporate that into analysis that you do to determine what are diverting, all that sort of stuff. This is just going to sit off to the side, and you're going to continue to manage the assets that we have, and that value's there, but it's not really going to drive what we do from a perspective, from an investment committee perspective, and it's just kind of there, and we know it's there, but we're not sure what it's worth, and we're going to continue to operate the foundation with the assets that you guys have under management. Is that a pretty fair statement?
That is correct. To the extent that those assets become liquid that are on the side, as you described, then we will advise in terms of how to liquidate and transfer those into the more broadly diversified portfolio. But right now, from our vantage point, not the university or the foundation's vantage point, we would disregard those as it relates to the investment strategy.
Thanks.
Yeah, and that extends to, you know, any other assets that are liquid as well. You know, some universities have real estate properties, they may have art. We're not putting that on our purview to evaluate the prices of those liquid assets as well. Once they're liquid and it's monetized, then we can get involved in the process of deploying that throughout the portfolio.
Do we have any, Director Kidd?
Just one quick question. I think it'll come, I just want to make sure sort of the backing of Disciplina on the answer to this question. It's a general question around liquidation. What typical process timeline around an IPO from your experience? I just want folks to understand that this is not a quick thing.
Right. So I'll answer a number of different pieces and kind of give kind of a linear path, hopefully. So to the extent that this stock were to go about the IPO process, assuming they are starting or initiating that process of getting third-party valuations and getting audited financial statements and things of that nature, it would probably take 6 months at the very least for them to actually go IPO. And then they would be subject to the market, the strength of the market, the demand of the market, where they think they could actually get the pricing relative to that valuation. Then the next piece of it would be they'd actually solicit and hire an investment banking firm to shop, and then actually subject to the terms of the gift, which we are not privy to, we may be suspended in our ability to actually liquidate for a period of time. It's called a lockup. Typically the owners or closely held individuals are in that lockup. That can be a series of months in nature. So again, the price can change. It could be listed, it could be posted on your financials, but we wouldn't be in a position to actually liquidate the security. Then, to the extent that we are in a position to liquidate the security, subject to the liquidity, how much is traded on a regular basis, there would be constraints and parameters that we would advise in terms of how much we suggest to sell on a given date or over a given period of time, because we don't want to sell an inordinate amount, which causes the stock to go down in value. And then the final piece of the puzzle is that once that's all said and done, it's transitioning those assets into the more broadly diversified investment portfolio, which would come under the purview of the investment committee of the foundation. I think one of the items of note as it relates to the organization, this is very important as it relates to the gift agreement and things of that nature and how you actually put it on your financials. There is going to be a value that holds this at. And that is going to be your bogey, and that is going to be your benchmark. And effectively, you want to be in a position where you're liquidating at that level or above that level. So all of the things that I described, whether it be the elements of time, whether it be the speed in terms of how we liquidate the security, whether it be the liquidity of the security in the market, whether it be the market level, will kind of factor into that. Because at the end of the day, gift value and the institution gets the proceeds, and the two aren't necessarily equal. In the perfect scenario, you want the proceeds to be higher than the gift value, but at best you would look for them to be similar. I did have the privilege of working at an institution that had a closely held position, and we can get into that matter when we get to that point, but you don't want to be in a situation where you're held captive by that single position, and it actually drives the operations of your institution by it going up and down, and it drives your financials, and it drives the missional contributions, whether they be in athletics, academics, or what have you. So, once we get to that point, I think we're well positioned to assist you, but that addresses the question that you have.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out how long that process is before we would actually see this money.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Director Kidd. Director Hobbs?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last question for Disciplina, and this perhaps is also related to the broader discussion here. I know we have an investment policy in that's outlined, and it's got an Appendix A with, I believe, a 30% max on our private markets. So in what way, if at all, does this security impact our thresholds?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, right now it's not even involved in the process. As we alluded to earlier, it's not even factored in until it's liquidated, and then we can deploy it across the portfolio. But you're correct, there is an exposure to private markets, but again, this isn't factored into that because it's in essence an off balance sheet position that's not within the purview of the custodian currently.
Yeah, I would add, I think the assumption and presumption of the investment policy statement is that all the asset classes that are presented there, whether it be global equities, fixed income, or private markets, are considered to be
brilliant. Thank you.
We wouldn't consider this.
Okay, Duke and Matthew, thank you so much for taking the time to be here, especially at such a short notice and answering some tough questions today. We're going to go ahead and transition over to the next part of our agenda. But again, thank you for being here and making yourselves available and to assist the foundation.
You're welcome, Chair LeBoot. Would you like us to stay on the line, or would you like us to leave? We're at your pleasure. So just let us know. We're fine either way.
Okay, you can go ahead and stay on in case any other board members happen to have any other questions. That would be great. Okay. At this point, we're going to go ahead and transfer to Dr. Friday Stroud. Before we do the transition, I know that many of you have had tons of questions, and many actually requested to have this emergency meeting so that we could have questions answered. And I just want to emphasize the importance of our fiduciary roles as board members in terms of the current. So again, that's the primary purpose of our meeting. Again, we're hoping to have all of your questions answered. And at this point, I'm going to transition over to Dr. Friday Stroud. And Dr. Friday Stroud is going to give us an update, and then we will open the floor to further questions.
Thank you, Chair LeBout. Board members, just wanted to give you kind of the evolution of the relationship with the donor. So Mr. Jeremy actually called the office and was transferred to a development officer back in the fall of 2023. And that development officer is Audrey Simmons-Smith. So after having several conversations with Mr. Jeremy, Ms. Simmons-Smith put together a proposal that covered programs that she thought he might be interested in supporting. And she also kind of had an initial screening done of him, wealth screening done of him. And then she then started having, again, from conversations to actual virtual meetings that she would have with him along with me. From that, we expanded it based on the areas that there seemed to be mutual interest. And so we would have other meetings that had Dr. Robinson, A.D. Sykes, Ms. Deborah Sullivan with the Center for Disability Access and Resources, also known as CDAR. And so over the course of that time, he would have meetings with all of us collectively. And then periodically, he would have individual meetings with either Ms. Sullivan or A.D. Sykes, and a few with Simmons-Smith. And so from there, he kind of decided what an initial amount would be based on what he was interested in supporting here at FAMU. After having conversations with those individuals, he came up with an amount. From there, we received a proof of funds statement from the financial institution from which he was banking at that time. And then we then subsequently, Ms. Simmons-Smith and I, along with Dr. Robinson, had a meeting with his financial advisors. And so discussed with them some of the areas that Mr. Jeremy had told us that he was interested in supporting. After that, he, I guess maybe a month or two after that, I don't remember the exact timing, but ended up shifting from those that financial advisor or entity to another one. And so that organization sent us, letting us know that he was no longer represented by them because he had removed the funds. And then there were other areas that Mr. Jeremy decided that he wanted to support, and we started bringing those individuals in. So, well, excuse me, we didn't bring those individuals in because by this time we started talking about a non-disclosure agreement. And so it was decided that there wasn't a need to bring them in because they he was already going to kind of support those areas. Those areas were College of Agriculture and Food Sciences, as well as the School of Nursing. And then also were included in there were the different 5 boldly striking strategic priorities. During that time, well, somewhere in there, he asked about speaking at commencement and making the announcement then. And of course, we said nothing could be made if no announcement could be made if there were not, if we did not have the donation. And so then I think somewhere in there, Spelman announced their $100 million gift. And at that point, Mr. Jeremy said that he wanted to do something more than that. And so we then again looked at the different areas, and he decided to put increases in certain areas. Prior to, so in going through and doing the non-disclosure agreement, in addition to the initial wealth screening that was done at the beginning, we did a more expansive screening of Mr. Jeremy's background, and those use different information. And so had a discussion with Dr. Robinson, and we decided that based on the information that was found, much of which is what, well, pretty much all of which is what has been put out now in social media, we said, okay, we would proceed with the decision to move forward. Again, so we had those additional meetings, and just around that time, then the actual stock certificates was transferred into our CARTA account. CARTA is the account. We had already had a CARTA account because it's the place in which we accept other stocks that donors donate. And so the stock was there. They were accepted by one of our team members. And so, of course, at that point, you know, myself not being very familiar with CARTA, got way more familiar with CARTA because typically she managed that. So we were got more familiar with that. The gift agreement, as you all said, it's out there now. So it is with the Isaac Batterson Family 7th Trust. And it is we signed a 10-year gift agreement. And so the stock that we have was valued at $15.85 a share for 15 million shares. The par value on that is $5.12 of Batterson Farm Corp private stock. We do have the redacted IRS form with the EIN number, as well as the for Batterson Farm Corp, as well as the Isaac Batterson Family Trust with Mr. Jeremy as the trustee. We had conversations with our auditors. So a lot of the questions that you all were asking Disciplina around the valuation of the stock, that would actually happen during our audited financial statements time, which we will be coming at June 30th. During that time, as BCA Watson Rice does at every annual audit, they will have all of our stocks and securities and stuff evaluated by a separate, so they hire another firm out who specializes in valuation, and they will do those valuations at that time. We decided that we would wait on that process. And so based on our conversation with the auditing firm, the stock right now, while it says $15.85, if no other are presented, and they are required, Batterson Farm Corp is required to submit audited financial statements to our auditors for it to be justified at the $15 $85 a share. Recorded at the par value of $5.12 a share. But the valuation firm, the external valuation firm that BCA Watson Rice would do, could come back and say that the stock value is worth less than that, even less than the $5.12 a share. And so then that's what it would then be recorded as on the books then during the our audited financial statement period. Again, it would still be private stock, illiquid at that time. And then, we would manage through the process of liquidation over a period of time. The schedule that Dr. Humphreys referenced was more around the schedule of how the dollars would be allocated to the different units by year. And so, again, because the stocks were received in our CARTA account, which is again how we receive other stock that's donated to us, and that's that's kind of where we are. When also doing the process, we looked at things like because it is a business in the hemp space, it's a basically a farm company, right? And so many times those companies themselves do not own the land. They actually rent land from other people. And so that wasn't necessarily uncommon to me because my mom owned some acreage in Mississippi. She does not farm it, but she rents it to a farmer. And so that particular farmer would make his living off of what he makes from the farm, but it would never show up that property is his because it's not his, it's my mother's. And so looking at that as well as a couple of contracts, we had discussions around the terms of those. The way they value it is the number of contracts and the length of time of those contracts, to then be able to come up with what their stock price value is after looking at what they bring in as revenues and then subtracting out expenses and such. So that is kind of where we are. Like I said, how it was deposited into our CARTA account and then the process that will be used for valuing it. And again, because we are near to year end, it was decided that we would not pay additional money to get that because that will be a part of our annual financial statements audit. Right now, the university is in a holding position around what further, what will happen with this. And so that will be pending what happens after next week's Board of Trustees meeting. And the donor, Mr. Jerami, has been advised of today's Foundation Board meeting as well as next week's Board of Trustees meeting. And, aware of that. I know people had asked about the NDA. So even prior to an NDA being put in place, given that there's Florida statute, as well as the FAMU Board of Trustees policy 2018-01, we are bound to protecting the confidentiality of personal or financial information about donors or prospective donors in accordance with the state statutes. Similarly, in your FAMU bylaws, the foundation's ability to ensure donors and prospective donors that their financial and personal information will be held in confidence is essential to us fulfilling, again, that is in your bylaws as well as in the FAMU, you all's Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct. A director shall respect the right of individuals and organizations to privacy and confidentiality, particularly of donors and prospective donors. And so that was, that is how we operate with all donors, not just this donor, but all donors. But in addition to that, this donor did request for an NDA. While we don't do a lot of NDAs, some organizations do make us sign NDAs to enter into gift agreements with them. And so So NDAs are not, it was not just something solely done in this case. It had done, and we do it. And actually, I think having one that's come over that will be signing soon for another donor. So NDAs, again, are us disclosing this is not a fact of the NDA, but it's also a matter of Florida statute for donor or prospective donor confidentiality and privacy of their personal and financial information. So I think this probably gives us, I think I've covered everything that has gotten us to this point.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Friday Stroud. I have questions, but I'm going to defer because I see hands already. So we're going to start with Director Greer, Director Arnold, Kidd, and then Hobbs.
Thanks, Chair Wu. Dr. Friday, how are you doing?
Thank you. Well, thank you, sir.
And thank you for that explanation. So just one basic question. I think this gets to some of the questions that were asked of the subpoena. And if you can't answer it, then we understand. But when you look at the revenues and expenses, and typically you value a company based on, EBITDA times some multiple. When you looked at those numbers directionally, did those numbers make sense with the value? Such that you said this is reasonable.
So what is while I did not do an in-depth evaluation, right? Because I'm not, expert in that as well, but not an expert in that at all. But what I will say is understanding, kind of the hemp industry, understanding that it is predominantly a cash industry as well, and understanding how farm businesses work. Looked at that to say there is, kind of the potential, understanding that he has a license. He's licensed with the USDA as well as the state of Texas for hemp, and in the state of Texas also for hemp seed. So just, kind of looking at all of those things and understanding that there is the potential upside. While, clearly with any stock, you take a risk, whether it's going to be valued at zero, as Director Humphrey said, or valued higher. But looking at it and the particular industry that it's in and what's projected to happen in that industry, that was what kind of led to the saying, okay, this has potential. And again, it wasn't until we actually had the stock transfer into our Carta account that starts saying, okay, then this becomes real, right? Because before that, we're really just talking about air. So at that point it was, and then knowing that our auditors will go through and have a third party firm who specializes in valuing it, and that would happen, and also recognizing that it could be potentially recorded on the books, not only at the $5.12 for par, but it also could be valued lower than that. Recognizing that, that is when it will have an impact on our financial statement. So that's something that, we will be working with our auditors, BCA Watson Rice on. And again, they actually do that as a standard course of action with all of our assets for doing a payment audit.
Great, thanks.
Dr. Arnold, I think you were next.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Director Friday Stroud. So my understanding is this is not
a director. Not a director.
Dr. Friday Stroud. Understandably so.
Shantae is fine too.
This is not on our balance sheet, Shantae?
No, at this point, it's not on our balance sheet, and so it won't come on until the fiscal year, right?
That's pretty.
Yeah.
Okay, and then and any tax, so it's not on our balance sheet, so we don't have to worry about taxes. I still have questions around the schedule and how this came to be. And then if it sounds like the due diligence is still being addressed, and so why are we communicating this now until after the due diligence has been addressed? It sounds like we may be or have been premature, given that we still have aspects and several steps of due diligence to truly verify and validate such a gift. And I'm appreciative of the gift. I pardon my tone and tenor. That is, I want to make sure that the positive intent is there. However, the concern, given our fiduciary responsibility as the board director, that's where my concern presents.
Right. And so the way the gift agreement is written is that it was the amount that was given in stock. And so that was actually delivered, right? And so because that stock was delivered, the ask to present it, then we honored the donor's request. Again, recognizing that after it goes through the valuation process, it could be lower. But also given that it is a private stock and there is at some point maybe the potential for it to IPO, then there could be a potential upside. So yes, there's clearly risk, and we are seeing that and everything that is shaken out. But at the time, that was the decision.
Thank you, Shante.
Mm-hmm.
Director Kidd.
Thank you, Chair LeBeau. I want to first say that I just want to say how excited I think a lot of us were when we saw this first come through. A major donor gift, the institution, to take the institution to a transformational level is amazing. However, I have to say that, I came here with an open mind, I'm listening. And as a new member of the board who just started in January, I'm really here to focus on our fiduciary responsibility to be financial stewards and to protect the reputation of the foundation itself. I'm sure there are operational and leadership challenges and concerns that will be addressed by the Board of Trustees next week. So I just want to make sure, folks know that I'm here to really understand the process and the transaction itself, because what is striking to me is what I heard from our OCIO from Disciplina, that they just heard about this for the first time on Sunday evening, as well as what I'm hearing and what my personal experience is that the first time I heard about this was a text message from a friend forwarding me something on Saturday, and the board got no official notice about this until Sunday afternoon. That's very, very problematic with such a major donation. So my concerns are twofold. One is about the overall process and financial controls, how staff is able to do 9-figure level transactions on behalf of the foundation board without the foundation board knowing about it, signing contracts, etc. So how did we get this far without knowledge of the transaction or the donor by the OCIO or the board? How are we thinking about contracts and review and execution of those contracts? And how is the board being informed after the fact? Because if the document that I saw, the agreement that I saw, is the final agreement, it's not even fully executed. So if you take note on the signature lines, the donor line is empty. It's not signed. And so those things are very concerning. And then moving on to the transaction itself, and those would be concerning if this was cash or if this was a public stock and we could liquidate and we could move it into our investment policy, et cetera. The process itself, I am very concerned about how this took place and how we're here. Now listening to the transaction history, how this donor came to us, the process internally that took place, some things that are very obvious are that we didn't have a formal due diligence process, because I was simply going to ask for the due diligence report and third-party valuation to try to quell a lot of the questions. But what I just heard is that it didn't exist, and that we're deferring valuation until later when we're making public announcements. And so the structure of the deal, I think we started hearing it with questions with Disciplina, are these restricted shares? How is it structured? Who was the issuing company? So we got that answered. How are we vetting the due diligence? Is there a KYC report, et cetera? And so where I'm going to leave this, because I think we can't answer the questions I originally had, is really going to President Robinson. I need to understand from you, when you were aware, how were you involved in this process, and what was the decision-making thoughts around excluding both the board of the foundation, as well as from the vice chair's announcement yesterday, apparently the board of trustees, to get to this position to make a public announcement the way we did? I would like to hear from you, your level of involvement, when you knew how decisions were made up to this point.
Yeah, thank you very much. Director Kidd, I have been involved in the process pretty much all the way along. When the money proposed gift, rose above a certain level, I was Ms. Simmons Smith, and I have been following it throughout. At the time, it rose to the level of a stock change when the NDA agreement was made. I was committed to honoring that agreement, which indicated that I could not share not only with this board, but also with my board chair as well. She was made aware of this event, of this activity on Saturday, like so many other people were. And so I was compelled by the NDA agreement not to violate that, but the potential of losing what we thought was a great opportunity at the time. And there's really, I don't know if we violated any Foundation Board of Directors policy or procedure when it came to this gift receipt. But I do think it's something worth considering how we might handle such gifts in the future.
And just a quick follow-up for Dr. Friday-Stroud, can you address the issue around the agreement actually not being properly executed?
So again, with the execution, we'll go back and look at that. But Mr. Jeremy is actually listed as the trustee of the Isaac Batterson Family Trust. And so really it could have been one in the same line, given that that's his position. And that's confirmed by the IRS document. But again, remember, the stocks were transferred before we, even before the agreement itself was signed. The stocks were transferred to our Carter account back in April.
Director Johnson.
Thank you, Chair LeBou. Dr. Friday-Stroud, just a couple simple questions looking at the process, and I'll pick up where Director Kidd left off. As I've read the agreement that's been circulated out in the public, talking specifically about Jeremy and he being a representative of the Batterson Farm, but it alluded to that maybe there was he was a trustee, but maybe there was someone else with that. And so I want to start my questioning there to understand, does he have the sole authority to represent Batterson, or is there another backing institution that obviously did not sign the agreement where there was a blank space?
So the Isaac Batterson Family 7 Trust, that again, on the IRS document, he is the trustee for that. And so that's why. And that's why I said it actually could have been one line because he's listed as the trustee.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier here about the change of financial institutions at some point. He went to another institution. Did you provide, or can you provide that institution and the valuation institution that valuated this stock at this particular point? I think that was asked earlier, and I don't know if that's a
so it was the initial financial institution that actually valued it, and it was transferred by that first institution. Since then it has moved to another institution.
Okay, so is that 2 institutions or 3 institutions it's been moved? Because first one valuated, you said, and then they made that.
I said that it was at the first institution,
right?
And the institution was the one who we met with, and that sent us proof of fund statement,
right?
And it was from there that it was transferred to the Carter. Since then, he has left and gone to a second. So I didn't say anything about a third. I said a second.
Okay. And still that valuation company, that's
so
protected.
At that point, don't know, because at that point now the stock sits in our Carter account.
Okay. And then you mentioned real quick, just a brief, expand a little bit more about the expansive screenings? It sounds like you went into a process. I'd like to maybe understand what was that, or what did that look like when you went to expansive screenings? You uncovered some things, and at that point you said you decided, or the group decided to continue to move forward.
Yeah, so we found some things out there that just like everybody else found out there, and you know, did some searching, shared that information, and then you know, we decided to continue moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Director Hobbs.
Continuing on with Director Kidd's and Director Johnson's line of commentary, I want to talk a little bit about process, but also relative, you know, the mindset that was in place that allowed us to kind of take on this sort of risk by making an announcement when clearly there were a lot of questions, substantive questions yet unanswered regarding the value, regarding the timing, regarding the quality of the underlying asset, regarding the validity of the gift, if in fact. So you did a wealth screening. Typically, that'll highlight an ultra high net worth individual or a high net worth individual and give you some level of confidence. Can you confirm whether you did that level of screening? One. Number two, going back to the valuation, sorry if I'm beating a dead horse, but it's very normal to have a 409A valuation within 12 months of issuing equity. So if there are equity for privately held companies, so if there are stocks, so to speak, that we received that had been issued in the course of this transaction, then there should have been a 409A valuation done per IRS rules. So I guess I'm confused about both the decision to wait for the audit, given the announcement, but also the apparent absence of comforting and independent third-party evaluation that's in line with rules and the concomitant risk that potentially places on both the university and the foundation. And then last, you talked about donor confidentiality, and wholeheartedly agree with the need to keep donors' information confidential. But also in our donor privacy and confidentiality statement, we also state very clearly that the VP, executive director of the foundation, shall consult with the president, general counsel, and the foundation board chair. Can you comment on whether there was any consultation with the board chair here?
No, there wasn't, because there was the NDA. And so the NDA was for the people who were a party to it.
Director Hobbs, did you have all your questions answered?
I did not, but I don't think I'm going to get them answered in this forum. So I'll look forward to getting information on the decision around valuation, as well as the clarification on the screening of the individual that was done, to get comfort with their status or the collectiveness of the trust beyond this kind of nebulous financial institution comment that we heard earlier.
Thank you, Director Hobbs. Director Kidd?
Thank you, Chair LeBou. Two follow-up questions. I actually had one, but then Director Hobbs has just prompted a second one. The initial question I had is, Dr. Friday Stroud, when you all were doing that extended search and you saw the things that everybody else has been talking about on the internet, was there any effort to reach out to CCU or Miles College, since those were publicly failed donors sort of agreements? And then the second question is regarding the NDA. I am perplexed at how an NDA would exclude the inclusion of at least the chair of the Board of Trustees and the chair of the foundation. Those folks should be under the tent. Like, even, and we understand, et cetera, the same thing with hiring practices, and there are special committees like we did for the head coach position, and so that you can maintain confidentiality. I don't understand and need an explanation about how you're excluding board members, especially board chairs, from being under the tent with an NDA. So first around, did we reach out to the other universities and higher education institutions? And then second, more clarification around exclusion of the board chairs from the NDA process.
So we did not reach out to the others, but also I will say with the chair, and again, in you all's the Code of Ethics and Standards, it says the director shall respect the right of individuals and organizations to privacy and confidentiality, particularly of donors or prospective donors. There's also a state statute, and so that is the reason.
Okay. Any other questions before I ask the few that I have? Director Arnold.
And thank you, Chairwoman LaBoot. This may actually come after yours. What I'm interested in at this juncture is presenting us to pause these actions, to put in place a communication plan that resets everything that we are learning as a part of this gift. My concern is our reputation has been greatly impacted, and I want to make sure that we restore faith in our alumni and all of the friends and family that support Florida A&M University. This is not to call into question the individual and the donation and the gift. However, it is to call in, to Director Kitt's point, the process or lack thereof that now have us responding and reacting in grave urgency, where we should have paused at the outset to look at with the diligence that these conversations so warrant.
Thank you, Director Arnold. The questions that I have, number one, is who participated in the non-disclosure process?
So there are, I think, about 6 or 7 of us on campus who are a part of the NDA.
Okay, can you provide that information or positions?
President, myself, Ms. Simmons Smith, and a couple of the others. I believe there was somebody in communications, the president's office, another person in my office.
I believe the director of the CEDAR program.
Director CEDAR, director of athletics. Yes.
Okay. My next question is my understanding with the NDA around the university that it requires the signature of the chair of both the Board of Trustees as well as the foundation board. So I'm trying to understand how is that put together in terms of the non-disclosure with the exclusion of the Board of Trustees and the foundation board? And I guess let me follow up with that too. Typically, when someone's giving such a large donation and there's so much, an enormous amount, typically they are very interested in who's going to be investing their money, who's going to be facilitating that process, seeing that the gift goes to the foundation office. So I'm just trying to get a better understanding of that selection process.
So if I could, tell Abu, I'm not familiar with the rule or regulation that you're referring to regarding the NDA. This was developed through our legal counsel's office, and at that time we were not made aware. It was a requirement for the board chair of either the foundation or the Board of Trustees to have to sign that. So I could be wrong here, but there was certain knowledge of that at the time we signed that.
Okay.
If you could make that aware to us, I would certainly, be more than happy to abide by that in the future. But there was no indication of that in this current one.
Director Hobbs.
Kind of back to thank you, Madam Chair. To Director Arnold's comment, I'm searching for a way forward here. We are where we are. There is clearly some damage control, crisis management, whatever term you want to use here, around what's been communicated versus where we are and what we're learning. There feels like a thread that needs to be led by university comms with the help of some sort of external communications party to help us craft the right strategy going forward around what we say and to whom and when. Second, there's a thread around valuation and getting very comfortable ASAP around valuation using a third party. That's something I believe this board could take up as a matter of activity. Third, there's some process work as a board, foundation board, that I think should be referred in to make clear some of the things that seem to have fallen through the cracks around when is it appropriate to bring in the board on or board members on donations, or at least that seem to have been unclear to the administration. And then last, I think, this is something outside of the scope of our work as a board, but it seems that there should be some work done at the university level to think about what are the ways to mitigate the risk on the underlying asset in terms of the impairment of the value. So I'm particularly interested in the first three because those are things that we can immediately affect or begin working on. The last is a longer term question mark pending the outcome of all of this.
If I could, on that point, and at least the first issue that I've heard from a couple of the directors this afternoon, I just want to bring it to your attention that I spent most of the day reaching out to board members to share with them a decision that was made yesterday to put a pause on this activity. A hold is more or less the language that was used, pending some additional information that is coming to my attention. So we'll share more of that with the board, but I just want you to know already that with regard to the gift and the processing of it and so forth, in the future processing, we've already decided that it was in our best interest to put that on hold.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Vice Chair Neighbors.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that for those out in the listening public and those on board, there is a distinct institutional advancement, right, and the FAMU Foundation, of which many of us, all of us who are speaking, other than those designated, are a member of. And so there are things that the university does through institutional advancement, and as their province, and there are things that we do with what is realized from their good works. And so we collaborate with them as well as collaborate with the NAA, right? And I think nothing is perfect, but important to always assign good intent for those that love FAMU. And I think everyone on this screen and those on the call who are alumni understand what the level of FAMU means. So I want to make sure that we, as we move forward, perhaps reset, because I see in here that there may have even been opportunities to help drive positive value to what is going on, but we are where we are. And if anything, a Rattler knows how to do is to move forward and face adversity.
Director Kidd.
Thank you, Chair LaBelle. Quick question follow-up from what Director Neighbors just said, as well as if with your pleasure, I'd like to make a motion for the board to consider at this time. Director Neighbors makes an excellent point, and I want us to make sure that we're all clear. I think everyone understands, and I hope that everyone understands that I believe at least, and I think we all believe and understand that there was positive intent here, that the university leadership, as well as the board, et cetera, wants the university to excel. We want to be able to attract major gift donors, et cetera. I think this was a huge learning opportunity for us, I hope, and that we can now take this in terms of next steps on how to improve. So I'm very encouraged by President Robinson's announcement just now that we're putting a hold on this and we can take a short time to regroup. Because I'd like to understand really quickly from Dr. Friday Stroud, just the reporting relationship with the foundation, because you have multiple roles. So do you report to the foundation board as executive director, or is it because of the combined role you're just reporting to President Robinson? And then I'll make my motion.
Yes, it's because of the dual role. I actually report to Dr. Robinson. There is no reporting to the founding board.
Okay, thank you. And so my motion is that in order to move forward with this process from the perspective of a foundation board member and the fiscal responsibility, I would like to have us vote to engage a third party to do a complete audit of our processes and financial controls from end to end, as well as a different vendor or a same third party to conduct diligence and transaction in terms of valuation analysis, KYC, et cetera, on the transaction on this particular agreement. So it's two-part, having an external third party analysis around process and controls, and then have diligence and KYC and valuation analysis done on this particular donor's agreement and valuation of the transaction and the shares.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Let's see. Discussion.
The only thing I would share, Chair LaBelle, as you are aware, is that the chair of the Board of Trustees is also working to enlist the services of outside entities. And I would hope that, that conversation continues so that whatever this group is engaged to do, we're doing it in unison and not stepping on each other's feet. But I know she has some very concrete plans for involving some outside entities to do some work around crisis communication, around the auditing of the process, or the review of the process itself. And so I would just hope that perhaps Director Kidd, as a friendly amendment, that Chair LaBelle and Chair Hopper engage in a conversation around how they might do that together, such that there's no unnecessary overlap or unnecessary utilization of funds.
So my concern, may I respond? My concern with that is that the Foundation Board, Inc. is a separate legal entity. We have a fiduciary responsibility around the endowment, the receipt, and the evaluation of these funds. We have separate reporting processes, as was just articulated by Dr. Friday Stroud. And so I would remain without the friendly amendment, the foundation move forward with its own dependent external evaluation process.
And
but open to discussion, obviously.
Yeah, the other part of the discussion is, as far as I'm aware, as far as the outside crisis situation being facilitated, but I'm not aware of the other process in terms of audit. And I'm not sure if that would just be regarding the Board of Trustees side versus the FAMU Foundation side. So,
technically, the Board of Trustees has oversight of the foundation because you all are certified, DSO certified through the Board of Trustees. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that it is the request that Chair Harper is making, it would be an audit of the foundation, the process, but I could be wrong. And I think that's why maybe Dr. Robinson was suggesting that maybe you all have a conversation.
Okay. Oh, Director Kidd's motion is still Director Neighbors and Director Abney.
Director Abney was first. I'll defer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
sorry, I was on mute. My concern is that I believe I understood Dr. Robinson to say that this matter is being put on hold. So I'm concerned about expending resources when it's still been evaluated. And I think he also said we don't want to duplicate resources and step on each other's toes. So I would defer to the Board of Trustees, who's responsible for the oversight of the Foundation Board, before we engage someone to launch a separate investigation.
Vice Chair Neighbors?
Yeah, I concur with Director Abney. It seems like we are ahead of we're with the decision to hold, right, that has its own impact, but I still am very, very deliberate about respecting the division of responsibility as between the Board of Trustees and the Foundation Board. Here we have an illiquid asset that we have in certificate form, but it hasn't had a impact on the liquid investment funds that Disciplina manages, nor a balance sheet impact as of this point. So our fiduciary responsibility has not yet kicked in. And so at the end of the day, I think this is the province of the Board of Trustees, and we do not need to duplicate resources. And I think I expressed that concern previously.
Mm-hmm. Director Kidd?
I think my question is, I think we've already passed the point where we should have some roles and responsibilities. We have a public announcement we were caught off guard by. The processes in and of themselves need to be assessed independent of this transaction. The transaction was a symptom to me of a process and a set of financial controls that are not working. So the transaction being on hold has nothing to do with the fact that this has exposed the need for an assessment of our process and controls as a foundation board. If we have a third party that's coming that the trustees have engaged on the scope of work, the chair, it's up to you to coordinate with chair of the trustees to make sure that we're coordinated. I have no concern about that, but I want to make sure that as an independent entity, we address the issues within our entity as a board, period. This meeting is taking place because none of us, as I'm aware from this conversation, had any clue that this was going on. And we're talking about a transformational, largest in HBCU history donation, big check on stage, publicly done with press involved, and a big PR campaign push after the fact. If that doesn't signal that we need to take a step back and look at get our own house in order, I don't know what else does. And I'll pause there.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I just want to reiterate, I'm not suggesting that don't do what Director Kidd has said. All I'm saying is that the two of you, the chair of the Fordham University Board of Trustees and yourself, have a conversation such that, whatever we do, we are not stepping on each other's toes and it's not redundant, right? So you need to do what Director Kidd said you need to do, but I think having a conversation would have clarified the air on what the board is planning to do as well.
Okay.
Just to reiterate.
Thank you, Dr. Robertson. At this point, we're going to call for the vote. Director Johnson, Director Arnold, quickly, if you could share, and then we're going to call for the vote.
just real quickly, and I was going to actually make a motion to call for the vote, Chair LeBouf.
Okay. Thank you.
The point that I want to emphasize is what I heard Director Kidd speak on, and what's more concerning, what I'm hearing from alumni Rattler Nation is the process. It feels though and seems as though the process in which we have gotten more information tonight than we had prior helps us to understand that there may be some great opportunity here to revisit our process. And if I heard Dr. Shante Friday-Stroud say there are other people in the queue that are waiting, she did mention that there may be upcoming moving forward. And what's clear and what I've heard is, and why I support her motion, is that that part of the motion needs to move forward, that we do an evaluation, in my opinion, to make sure line and we understand those protocols and need to take place moving forward. So with that, Chair LeBouf, I call a question on this.
Okay.
Motion.
All righty. All moving forward with the vote on the motion that was placed without the amendment. If Nick, if we could do a roll call.
Director LeBouf, before we do the roll call vote, would you just reiterate what the vote is for?
Restate. Yes.
Restate.
Yes. Thank you. Just one second. Director Kidd, if you could restate the motion before the vote, and then after that, Nick, if you will do a roll call, that would be great.
Sure, Chair LeBouf. The motion on the floor is that we as a foundation board take up the charge of hiring an external third-party audit of our processes and financial controls with relation to end-to-end financial controls of the foundation, as well as an evaluation of the transaction and the process around third-party valuation, KYC, et cetera, related to the existing transaction that is on the table. But it's really about focus on bringing in a third party to do an assessment of our process from end to end and our financial controls as a foundation.
Thank you. Okay. Nick, if you will with the roll call.
Chair Lisa LeBouf.
You have two hands up, Chair LeBouf, but the question has been called, so there's your prerogative as to whether or not they acknowledge those or not, but there are two additional questions.
Okay. Director Coleman, I thought we answered, wanted it restated.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And then Director Arnold.
Lisa, Director.
Yes.
We did, and that's why I wanted to restate it. Am I understanding the motion to be all encompassing, or is it related to specifically these type of transactions? I thought I heard a different nuance for the restatement than earlier in relation to our process around gifts and donations and private equity. So just want to clarify, are we talking about all processes that we're auditing or specifically related to our gifting process?
Director Kidd, I'm going to let you answer that.
So the intent is that we take a look end to end at our processes related to giving and gifting and this whole receipt of transactions. How do we handle money that's coming in, which in theory is all encompassing of the foundation activities. That's what we do. So it's go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes. Okay. If it's the giving part, I understand. That's what I was trying to clarify.
Yeah, that's the intent, is that we look at the process of this and in addition to that and how it relates to the financial controls around it. So as an example, we have staff doing 9-figure transactions that we don't even know about in our name. So how does that work? How do we do an end-to-end process review, but have the third party do that? We need someone externally. We need an external evaluation of processes and financial controls, is my motion.
Okay. Great. But all encompassing was the first motion. I think we should relate it to what you just said around our giving process. Because you used all encompassing, that's a very broad statement for what this could be versus specifically our giving funds related to these donations.
It should be, go ahead, sorry.
What I was going to say is I would recommend that we keep it as is. And as we move forward through the process, we can evaluate whether or not it needs to be more all-encompassing based on what the third party would recommend versus us limiting it to one area. Because if we get a third party who can come in and evaluate and give recommendations, it may be something that we maybe didn't even think about that could actually help us to improve what we're doing in the situation that we're currently facilitating or dealing with, so to speak. Dr. Friday Stroud, and then we're going to go ahead and finish because we have a vote out on the. And I'm sorry, Arnold, I know you disappeared for a second. Okay, go ahead.
And I was just going to remind. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Let Arnold finish.
Dr.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to also make sure that we address following up with alumni regarding this process, so that we follow up. They know that we have reviewed, we've listened to them, we are reviewing the process, there's accountability, and so that they understand that they can now have confidence, and we have restored their faith in what our roles and responsibilities are. That getting that communication out is of utter importance, and those are the expectations from me as Director Arnold. And I'm willing to help.
Great recommendation. Thank you. Director Friday Stroud, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Not director again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Dr. Friday Stroud.
Okay. I just wanted to remind you all, and you have the audit committee chair here, but there was a full operational audit that is required every 3 years. So that was done, as well as was hired by the Board of Governors to do an operational audit of all SUS foundations after that. So in the last 2 years, we've had 2 full, complete operational audits, and just wanted you, as Director Coleman was asking about the distinction between all-encompassing versus giving, wanted to give you all context for that.
Exactly.
Thank you. Nick, if you could proceed with the vote, please.
Chair Lisa LeBeau.
Can you restate the motion, please?
No,
Can you restate the motion, please?
It's going to be the same, the initial motion that Director Kidd made.
I think it's appropriate to restate it since there's some confusion about what the people are voting on.
Director Kidd, I don't think, well.
Now I have to try to remember what I said the first time. So the intent of this is to address the fact that we're here learning about this after the fact and dealing with this, right? So the motion on the floor is to have the foundation board engage a third party to do an external audit and evaluation of our processes and financial controls, as well as do the appropriate valuation, et cetera, KYC for this particular transaction. So engaging a third party like an investment bank or an accounting firm, whatever we deem is the appropriate third party vendor, but we need an external evaluation and audit of and financial controls that led us to this particular situation.
Okay. Thank you, Director Kidd. Nick, if you would move forward with the vote, please.
Chair Lisa LeBeau.
I vote for. Yay.
Vice Chair Kenneth Neighbors.
Nay.
Director Freddie Raines. I'm sorry.
You said nay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I couldn't hear. Was it yes or no? I apologize.
No, it was. I'm against it.
Okay, thank you. Director Erica Hill.
Yay.
Director John President Larry Robinson.
Yay.
Director Sean Bryant Abney.
Nay.
Director Angela Adderley.
Nay.
Director Director Arnold.
I am for. Yay.
Director Rebecca Brown. Director Gregory Clark.
Yes.
Thank you. Director Josetta Cole.
Nay.
Carmen Cummings Martin. Director Marcelia Freeman.
Yes.
Director Jamal Gibson. Director Clifton Goins. Director John
Nay.
Green. Director Billy Greer. Director Monica Williams
Due to the
Harris.
broad nature of the motion, my vote is no.
Director Cecil
Yes.
Hobbs. Director Lawrence Humphreys. Director Curtis Johnson Jr.
Yes.
Director Chakisha Kidd.
Yes.
Director Lenitra King.
No.
Director Kyla Mays. Director Ebenezer Oriaku. Director TJ Rose. Director G. Scott Uzel. Director Tawana Monroe Ward. Director Terrell Whitley. Give me just a second.
Okay.
It is a tie, Madam Chair. We have 9 voted for the motion and 9 voted against it.
Okay, how do you facilitate that situation?
Oh my God.
There were actually some people, Carmen is on the line, but I didn't hear a vote from Carmen. So if we can.
This is so simple.
I'll remind everyone that you must vote yay or nay.
Robert
No
Rules of
abstentions,
Order. Oh my
unless there's a
God.
conflict.
This is.
Madam Chair, does a quorum still exist?
Hey there, I'm here. No.
Oh.
Okay. So that's 9 yays and 10 no, Madam Chair. Director Armstrong just texted me to say that she is on the phone. Can you speak, Director Armstrong? Four, 889. Let me see if I can bring her over.
Okay.
Okay, Director Armstrong, you should be able to speak. I've allowed you to speak. Hello, Director Armstrong.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi there. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm traveling in rural America. I lost internet, but I did hear the roll call vote. My vote is yes.
We're back to a tie. 10 for, 10 against.
I'm gonna need you folks to read the Robert Rules
Did we
of
have
Order.
everyone that was present to vote?
See.
Director Adderley, did she vote?
Yes, ma'am, she voted.
Okay. All right.
Director Humphreys text me his vote. His vote was nay. Does he need to jump on the line? I have the text, Attorney Haygood.
I think the text is good enough.
Okay, all right. So that's now 10 yeses, 11 noes. So the motion fails, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right. Moving forward, second. With that said, let's hold on one second. Okay. I could see we had one other question. Director Hobbs, did you have? Okay, Director Hobbs.
Yes, Madam Chair.
And then
Thank
we'll-
you. Proceeding on the last line of discussion, if it is possible, I'd like to make a motion that we third party to audit our procedures for evaluating and receiving major gifts.
Yeah.
Respond to that, please.
Say that.
And I respect what you're saying. We have bylaws that address that issue already in place. We have Dr. Dr. Friday Stroud, my director, addressed that we have an audit that deals with that specific issue. It's been mandated by the governor that we have audits that address those issues. Maybe we need to take a good look at the bylaws and see whether our bylaws are encompassing enough to prevent some of what happened if we feel that something has happened, because we've addressed this issue multiple times before. We've had private parties to come in and look at the bylaws. We have an annual audit, financial audit, and we have this other operational audit which address these issues. I understand your concerns. I do. What I'm saying is we have the mechanism in place to resolve what seem to be.
Point of order, duly noted. We have one other quick question, and then because we do have a motion on the floor, we're going to move to vote if necessary. Director Kidd?
Just a quick point of discussion around that point is that we are in this current situation with everything that we currently have in place. I would like to second the motion of Director Hobbs to have a third-party external audit and review of the procedures related to financial controls and giving for major donors, as was stated, so narrowing the scope of the original motion.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Discussion? Director Humphreys?
Well, first of all, I was kicked off the call, and I want to know if that was intentional. If it was, I have a real problem with that. You know, the full board needs to vote on these matters, and any attempt to exclude the board is a problem.
Thank you.
And so I would like to understand from the staff what happened with some people being panelists and others kicked off.
So I can say it was not intentional. This is a call with a much larger participant base than we're normally used to. And so there may be some glitches with Zoom. And as soon as you text me to let me know that you had been kicked off, I immediately promoted you back to panelist. So with my apologies, I'm sorry.
I understand, Nick, but I sent 8 emails to you, chair, and the vice chair. And I didn't get any response. And so we can move forward, but that's inappropriate.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Director Humphreys. What we're going to do is move forward since we have a motion on the floor. Again, open for discussion, but I know we've discussed this extensively. So we're going to move for the vote. Nick,
Madam Chair,
roll call.
Madam Chair, may I please ask a question?
Yes, quickly, please, because we are at 7:08.
It's a very quick question.
Sure.
And just actually it's for Director Green. Is it, you know, as the chair of the audit committee, are you saying that the audits that are currently done address the major gift donation process?
Bylaws do, and the operational audit looks at the bylaws to see if we're implementing that. And we have a financial audit as well.
Thank you.
Mandated, and another audit is mandated by the governor for the same very reason you're raising the issue.
I do want to appoint. In our bylaws, it also states that the chair is responsible for signing contracts. How is that facilitated with where we are today? And that's just a comment. Vice Chair Neighbors?
Yeah, I mean, again, I love process, but I think, you know, I did not expect us to be taking a vote on, I mean, I expect us to hear information. And so I think, once again, we need to do our diligence. Director Green, who's very tenured, has articulated that we already have things in writing, and then there's a process for the auditor to get valuations. So perhaps we study the issue and maybe take it up at the next general board meeting, right, when we can actually have the committees do their work and then come out with a recommendation versus doing a spontaneous motion that, you know, that basically can wait until we get to the right before the end. I believe that's in what, June, end of May, early June.
Director Kidd.
With that point, Director Neighbors, question for Attorney or Director Green, rather. given what is in our current bylaws, the process that was described today in terms of how this transaction was handled, the level of diligence that was done or not done, is that in compliance with what we currently have in place?
You can only put them in the bylaws, but if you don't follow them, that's a different story. But
that's exactly why I'm asking. Is it in the bylaws and we just didn't follow the bylaws?
No.
Attorney Haggard, you were
Yes.
couldn't get out.
No, the bylaws only committee about a process of major not addressing the bylaws.
Thank you, Attorney Hager. That's exactly my point as to why we're asking for an external audit to look at process and financial controls, because that is not our bylaws, and I didn't think I had read that there. And so what's addressed in those audits by looking at the bylaws as they currently sit is how we're in this position we are in right now.
Well, the bylaw, and it says that the article, I'm trying to find it.
Okay, at this point, I mean, Attorney Haygood, are you searching for something, or?
The audit committee shall be responsible for recommending the appointment of independent public accountants, as well as review the cost and scope of any audit provided by such accountants or auditors. Committee shall be responsible for review and evaluation of the reports provided by independent accountants that describe any weakness in the organization's internal accounting and management controls, and that certain recommendations for improvements in such controls.
I guess my comment is that the audit committee was also not a part of this process. They were not included or contacted either. Is that correct?
Yeah, but their responsibility is to provide the audits I think are being called for. My only point is, I don't think the authority would expand to specific gifts. Certainly, if there is a feeling by the board that the process needs to be studied, then I think it should be recommended to the audit committee, who would then bring it back to the full board for a vote.
Well, right now, the vote is already on the floor. There's been a motion. It's been second. So at this point, we're going to move forward. Nick, if you could do a roll call.
I thought it was defeated.
No, we're doing it was another motion.
Can you repeat the second motion, please?
Sure. The motion is have an external audit of our process around evaluating and receiving major gifts. And just for point of clarification, I reread the bylaws before this meeting. I wouldn't make the motion if I thought they were addressed in the bylaws. And if we thought that this was in the scope of one of our committees, it's also something that I failed in any of the committee agendas over the past several months. So it has not been an explicit priority, despite the commentary that this is something that has happened before. So it raises the question of why not. Hence my motion.
Thank you, Director Cobbs. Nick, if you could move forward, because it's now 7:15. We were supposed to wrap it up at 6, and I understand it's been a healthy discussion, but we need to move forward with this final vote, and then we're going to close.
Chair LeBeau, I do have a question. This is Director Freeman.
Yes.
Just apologies for the ignorance. Does an audit also come with recommendations, or is an audit simply for information?
My understanding, well, you know what? Let me go ahead and
audits can come with recommendations.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Friday.
Chair LeBeau, quick question, Director Hobbs, if you would entertain a friendly amendment. I think to comment on something that you mentioned, I think if if the audit committee has not done what you are suggesting in your motion, I think a part of it is because this is not something that's happened to us before, which is a blessing. And perhaps based, I'm not sure, I think Director Neighbors may have said this, perhaps, or maybe our general counsel indicated this, perhaps this would be better done having the audit committee, since we are meeting in less than a month, take a look at our processes, since we have folks on our board who are very knowledgeable about what the process should be, have the audit committee, people who are interested in participating on the audit committee, to take a look at our processes to see if there are any recommendations that we can bring forward. And then, because what you're talking about is an expense of money. And so one of the things we have to do is try to save money, because we are responsible for, we talked about fiduciary duty a lot on this call. And perhaps the first step may be to talk to the audit committee, we can meet in at our meeting in May, have a conversation with the audit committee and take a look at our process. I think process is an issue, and I do share that concern. Take a look at the processes to determine, use the talents that we have to determine if there's a better way to formalize a process for major gifts, then bring that back to the board, and then we can perhaps hire a third party if we can't land on something there. So I'm not sure if you'd be interested in entertaining that, but that would be my
I think that's a
suggestion.
productive use of the board's resources. I do, however, think that such a committee, such an effort should include the development committee, since to me this is one of those situations that doesn't fall squarely in any injury, and perhaps that's where the white space is here. So it needs to be both.
And I think that there may be time to amend the agenda, but I think we have a wealth of talent on this board. I think we should tap into that talent base here. You and Director Kidd and some other people are much more knowledgeable. I'm a lawyer. I don't deal in finances, but I think that we have a wealth of knowledge on this board that we can utilize. And if it's a combination of the development committee and the audit committee, that may be the first step to come back before the board with a set of recommendations to look at the processes that we currently have and stream stream them better. I'm a lost for word because it's late and I haven't eaten today. But to have those two committees work together to provide recommendations to the full board about what the processes should be. That would be my recommendation. But that's a friendly amendment to your motion if you're willing to accept it.
I'm willing to accept that.
I second the friendly amendment to the motion Director Hobbs put forward.
Okay, is motion, second. Nick, we're gonna call for the vote.
Right.
You may need to repeat the motion, please.
Yes.
Repeat the motion, please.
Yeah, so the amendment to the motion is, the amended motion is that we have an internal multidisciplinary committee evaluate and identify and evaluate a process for evaluating and accepting major gifts with an implicit understanding that if it appears to be inadequate, that we then bring forward recommendations for closing that gap, either through, I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Okay.
For simplicity's sake.
And that includes financial controls, correct, Director Hobbs?
That does.
Okay. Nick?
Chair Lisa LeBoux.
Yay.
Vice Chair Kenneth Neighbors.
Yay.
Director Freddie Raines. That's a yay, sir. Oh, thank you. Director Erica Hill.
Yes.
Director John Crossman. President Larry Robinson.
Aye.
Director Sean Bryant Abney.
Yes.
Director Angela Adderley.
Yes.
Director Armster.
Yes.
Director Terry Arnold.
Yes.
Director Rebecca Brown. Director Gregory Clark.
Yes.
Director Josetta Colby.
Yes.
Director Carmen Cummings Martin.
Yes.
Director Marcelia Freeman.
Yes.
Jamal Gibson. Director Clifton Gomes. Director John Green.
Yes.
Director Billy Greer.
Yes.
Director Monica Williams Harris.
Yes.
Director Cecil Hobbs.
Yes.
Director Lawrence Humphreys.
Yes.
Director Curtis Johnson Jr.
Yes.
Director Chakisha Kidd.
Yes.
Director Lenitra King.
Yes.
Director Kyla Mays.
Yes.
Director Ebenezer Oriaku. Director TJ Rose. Director G. Scott Uzel. Director Tawana Monroe Ward. Director Terrell Whitley. Madam Chair, the motion carries.
Thank you, Nick. Are there any other items to come before the board? May I have a motion for adjournment?
Director Kidd, Chair, Director Officer.
Okay, it's been
moved.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. Y'all have a good night, healthy discussion, and
Without objection.
we're gonna move forward. All righty. Thank you.
Good night.
Take care.
Take care.
Good night.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Hold on. Oh my God. Lord Jesus. Let's go to a commercial break and we'll do a good discussion about this. Be right back.
It's your boy Doc Holliday. We swing to the left, down I-20, and we dip. We going down there for Swag Media Day, July 16th, 2024, being hosted at the Sheraton Birmingham Hotel in downtown Birmingham. And we got all schools that's going to be represented in the house on that day. We talking about Jackson State, Valley, Alcorn, Pine Bluff, Prairie View, Texas Southern, Grambling, Southern, Bama State, A&M, Bethune-Cookman, and FAMU. But in order for your boy to get down there, in order for you to get that good content, you got to hit the Cash App, you got to hit the PayPal, you got to hit the Zelle. We also got to hit that Super Chat while we on the live stream. And so, make sure you get your donations in so we can get down there. And like I said, you're going to swing to the left. Hit I-20 and we dip. Yeah, baby.
Oh my goodness. That was a fun ride, wasn't it? Oh my goodness. You know what? Oh goodness. That was a fun ride. And I'm just gonna let y'all know I don't drink wine, but it got me to drinking. And so I just want to put it out there. First and foremost, I love Miss Chakisha Kidd. Look, look. I think her and Mr. Hines was the only one that had damn sense. And I ain't trying to scream or nothing like that. I think they were the only one that had a lick of damn sense. Like, hey, we need to audit this gift that we have gotten from this guy. Now, it's already been circulating in the news about said person and about how everything is about this person. Even Scotty put it on his show last night, had the balls to call this man in the first 10 minutes of his show, have a small conversation, and get hung up. They had a whistleblower talk to him, and it makes perfect sense. These Negroes don't want the Pandora's box to open. That's the reason why they shot down the first motion to have it audited. That because the people who signed on the NDA, and again, remember, part of that NDA, there was a blank spot. It was supposed to be for Mr. Geronimo. All right. Why he didn't sign it? We don't know. It was supposed to be for the family trust. Cause now, and then they said I'm hating. Why am I hating on this? Why am I hating? There's no reason for me to hate. There's always a reason for accountability. And no one, excuse my language, and know what the fuck you supposed to be doing. This literally made, the board, this meeting, it made sense in a way, but it didn't make no sense after that. Dr. Friday Stroud, she's in charge of the foundation. She was like, she put everything out there on the board. And the president, Dr. Larry Robinson, like I said, who's a nuclear physicist, but lacks common sense when it comes to getting played. Come on now, man. Come on now. And the people, and the most important people on the board after it was made, jumped off the stream, jumped off the Zoom. Mr. Crossman, he jumped off. Whoever else that was on board director, jump off. They didn't want to hear this stuff. It was like literally, this was hard to watch. And excuse me while I take a This made no sense. And then for you to be on the board and not know the simple rule of Robert Rules of Order. I learned that when I was coming up as a sergeant of arms in my fraternity. We use the same method to conduct our meetings. If everybody's not there, if you don't have a quorum, there should not have been a vote whatsoever. You don't meet quorum, ain't no voting. A phone call don't count as a vote. If you ain't on that Zoom, it don't count as a vote. Everybody should know this. Like, if you ran for SGA in college, even if you ran for like class president in high school, everybody is you're going to get schooled on what Robert Rules of Order is. It just don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. Because now, guess what? Everybody done seen this whole Zoom meeting. We got over 100-something people that's on this thing right here between Twitter and YouTube. Like, I'm like this. And I wish I could bring up my graphic that all these Negroes need a damn pink slip. All you Negroes need a damn pink slip. If alums who are competent started asking questions about said donation. After that article got out by Mr. Blakely on Sunday, y'all saw how fast it was when FAMU put out that letter from their Office of Communications about their said donation. This makes no sense whatsoever, y'all. And then Miss Friday Stroud was like, look, and Dr. Robinson like, look, we just gonna continue with it. And then I'm in the chat, I'm looking through the chat because I'm listening, I'm reading the chat, y'all. And I'm like, Uncle Said is in here and he's schooling everybody on stocks and everything. Like, is that stock even worth is the stock even worth the toilet paper I wipe my ass with? I'm just asking. Is the stock even worth? Is it even worth the toilet paper I wipe my ass with? My sneakers got more worth than that stock. Ms. Jean, I don't even think it's worth that. Like, I really don't even think it's worth that. It's just now, and to be so, and it's the crazy thing, to be so public. To be so public and so bold with the said donation, man. Most of the time, you do that. You do it in private. You do it in private. But it's like, we just gotta let the world know, man. We got this money that came about. I'm just saying that stock. I'm a sneakerhead. I am a sneakerhead. All right. I got probably about, when it comes to J's, I got probably about 25 pairs of J's. That's about 20 pairs of J's that's in my what I want to say in my closet, but in my room right now. I wore most of them. Probably worn some like one time, and they just sitting in there. And they got more valuation. They got more value than this damn stock right here. $237 million in stock with no liquidation value. Yeah, you're going to have to watch it from the beginning, bro. And yes, If there's questions, always label the donations as anonymous.
You'll see mostly sunny weather and can expect a high of 81 degrees Fahrenheit and a low of 61 degrees.
Just and it's like you saying that you vetted this guy, you vetted the family trust, you vetted all this for over 6 months. Damn it, somebody got played. Somebody got played. This is crazy. I started this stream at 4:10. It is 6:37 right now. Ain't no way he was. Yeah, I'm sorry to say this, y'all. There's no way he was vetted accurately. And then y'all was so quick to sign an NDA. Like he made well, we don't want nobody to hear. And I understand. People say, you know, rich white people had that because I think that's who's, you know, his adoptive mother that's over the family trust and stuff like that. And then to go in and look at Batterson Farms Corporation, look at it as, you know, to me, like a complete and total sham. But excuse my contact been bothering me. It makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. So you better hope you get that money. And then it's a 10-year thing. It sounds like a hockey deal to me. And then the people who signed the NDA and had the AD signed the NDA also because part of said money was going to go towards athletics. Well, to some of y'all FAMU people, y'all got y'all wish. Because if it finds out to be a total scam, y'all gonna blame. This is the first person y'all gonna blame. Y'all ain't gonna blame y'all not gonna blame Dr. Robinson. Y'all not gonna blame Shantae Friday Stroud. Y'all not gonna blame nobody else. Y'all gonna blame that woman right there. Y'all full of shit. The law before this, the largest donation given to a HBCU was Spelman early. I mean, I think it was earlier this year, for $100 million. everybody, Mr. Blakely said the people name, the Stryker family. And you could go Google the Stryker family, you know they got goddamn money. Send a blitz. Too bad he going to jail too. So all of them, from the president to the foundation president to everybody on that board needs to go. All of them, every last one of them, they need to go. Because it just, like I said, it just makes no sense whatsoever. And I guess they just said shit by hook or crook. We gonna get this money. By hook or crook, we gonna get this money. We gonna get this money, Bumpy. It just baffles me. Just baffles me how some institutions of higher learning have some of the most incompetent people that run that institution. What's with the fake co-CEO? I don't even know about that. And it just, when, like I said, and then when you start reading off the name of the schools that they trying to do this to, Coastal Carolina said, shit, fuck that. We don't even trust you. And then, I mean, of course, then Mr. GG pulled the race card. and they said we backed out. But he ain't even look worth $95 million. Miles College, you don't hear nothing from them. Auburn University be like, shoot, what we need that money for? We got SEC money. University of Texas, I don't know if it's Arlington or Austin. Because if it's Austin, man, they would have been like, what do we need this for? We got oil money. Like, it just don't make no sense. He wore a mask because he was laughing under the mask. He like, shit, yeah, I got these niggas right here. I got these niggas right here. And then he took that mask off. He made the most. I'm not going to get flagged. I don't want to get flagged by it. And I don't want Whitley to be like, don't use that word. And then he asked to do a commencement speech. You let some random ass nigga come up there and ask you, can I do the speech? Everybody in the comments, Give me your top 3 people who should get that pink slip. That's a red flag. As that's that's Pyru red flag right there. I'm sorry. DJ, I said the top 3 out of this whole ordeal need to get the pink slip. We ain't talking about the damn band director. Be real. Everybody in the chat, in the comment, put who are the top 3 people that need to get their pink slips out for this ordeal. This witness said Dr. Friday Stroud. Michelle said most definitely the president. And then to add insult to injury, I love it. I love it. Look at not the air horn. My bad. Hold on. I love it. Add insult to injury. You lose the softball game to D. Jackson State University. Wearing the red, all red. And we're going to the championship for the softball tournament. All right. Let's continue on. You said the whole administration, though, for real. True enough, but I just need the top 3, bro. That's all I need. Top 3. Top 3. Like top 3. And yeah, that kind of got me right there. I know I'd be like, because I be thinking about what I'm trying to say, and I ain't trying to be lying or nothing like that. So I always try, when I say, I'm processing what's in my head. But I had to I literally, so I have my phone with me, y'all. I always have my phone with me, and so when I'm out, when I have my phone with me and I walk, on certain things, I watch part of the stream and I listen to it, and all I was just I'm like, man, I don't know what type of doctor you are. I don't know if you do medical or you're a research doctor or what. But all that sound like you in the damn Campbell's commercial. Damn, we let them score. I wanted to be a goose egg on that ass. Oh, look who decided to enter the chat. Come on up here, EA. That's the crazy thing. She knew about this man's background and was like, shit, fuck it, we just gonna go through with it. You know, some other people was like, well, the board don't need to know everything. I feel like the board needs to know a lot of things, especially when it comes to money, this type of money being donated. So, whew, what a day, what a day, what a day. I am about to do a round table with my guy Troy White. Runs the Gathering of Old Men podcast. Y'all know y'all watched that last week with Timona was on there, and then I jumped on there myself. We talked about a lot of things. So I think we're gonna continue over there and see what happens. Timona got her show at 7:45, so y'all tune in over there. I might go ahead and make my way over there also. It just all depends on what happens in the next 5 minutes. So we got a lot of things coming up. Ooh, she do got receipts. I kind of got receipts too, so. We got a receipt that we gave y'all softball team that L sent y'all packing. But I ain't gonna say nothing about that. Y'all already in the litany of shit. So it's just funny, man. Look, there's over 140 people that's watching this stream. Make sure that you like the stream, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to get everything HBCU Overdrive. Damn, I'm sounding like Dr. Stroud. Y'all remember that scene on The Water Boy, and they was in the mud bowl, and the kicker was like he was just scanning through the whole line because they were going for an onside kick, and he was looking. He like There you go. There go my bitch. And that's how it is for FAMU. That's how he did FAMU. Just so funny. So funny to me. And y'all know this shit going on the calendar this week, next week, the week after. I think the next meeting that they have is, I think they said their audit is in June. And the only two people who had any lick of sense in this meeting was Miss Kidd and Mr. Hobbs. All them naggers can go somewhere. Just so funny to me, y'all. Just so funny. But anyway, man, we're about to end this right here. So I'm about to get ready to go over there with my... Man, look. I don't even think the MEAC want FAMU back. I don't even think... Look. I don't even think, Chris, I don't even think they even want FAMU back. Oh, Lord, this is funny. This is comical, y'all. And it's so funny. It's so crazy because the only bright spot that they do have is, they have a little couple of them. They won the SWAC in football this past season, won a Celebration Bowl. Other than that, ever since they've been in our conference, they've had certification issues. They had trap rappers going into the locker room. They had fired their damn AD. Couldn't keep the coach. What else am I missing? What else am I missing? The snake lady showing her naked ass over by the statue. I mean, this shit can go on for days, and this shit can be so comical. And then I know some of the people on Twitter I'm streaming this on live. They're gonna be like, "Well, what about Jackson? What about Jackson State? Y'all got potholes." That's not a institutional thing. That is a government thing. Well, what about the water? Again, that is an environmental and government thing. Well, what about your presidents? That's the only thing that we've had going on. You know, you got the Pornhub auntie. Let's not forget about that. You got the glory hole, right? Look, let's not forget about that. See, we could go too much. We can go on for days. I ain't trying to pile it on, man, but it's just the fact that sometimes they just need to they need to sit down and shut the fuck up. Oh, we got Miss Lillian up in the building. She done made her presence. It can go, look, can go on from days. And the only thing we can say is you brought this on to yourself. You should have left well enough alone and shut the fuck up. Anyway, y'all, that's my time. I'm your boy Doc Holiday. This has been HBCU Tonight, episode 50. We halfway through this thing, and football season ain't even got here yet. This has been powered by HBCU Overdrive. And make sure that you like the stream, comment, share. Most of all, subscribe to the channel. If you want to become an Overdrive family member, hit the join button for the low price of $4.99. Also, hit the notification bell to get everything HBCU Overdrive. We'll be back on here probably, let's try to see Saturday. I'm trying to switch some days off of my job so I can be back on here Saturday because there's a baseball game coming around. And on Sunday, if I'm not streaming on this weekend, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers that are a part of the Overdrive family. We commemorate y'all. We adore y'all. Y'all are the givers of life. And it is what it is. You know, you're the mothers. You're the mothers on everything. But I'm Doc Holliday. I'm the voice of the HBCU culture and the voice of HBCU sports. We out this thing, y'all. Till next time. Peace.